Hello, I'm Teacher Kelly Tagg. So today we're going to talk about nonfiction books that you should or should not read. Not all of them get 5 stars. I just so happen to prefer nonfiction, so just my personal preference. I would be open to reading a fiction book. Let me know if you have any suggestions for me. So I actually read this when it first came out in 2022. I just realized I've never said anything about it on my channel when I've talked about books. So this is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette McCurdy. I know the title is very controversial. If you don't know, she was on iCarly and Sam and Cat. She was on the Disney Channel around the time that my own daughter used to watch those shows. So her mom was very, very controlling. She didn't even want to be in, the acting business, but her mom made her do it. Which is why, like, anytime they talk about doing a reboot, she won't do it. Her mom encouraged her to have an eating disorder, which I couldn't even imagine as a mother. Her mom, told her about calorie restriction and was very mentally abusive too, very controlling. And then her character was on iCarly really, really liked food. So here she is behind the scenes, starving herself and not eating anything, while her character was talking about eating chicken and eating things all the time. Great book, highly recommend it. Yeah. Okay, so this is a really good one that I read back in the fall. This is called The Watchmakers, and it is about, so the author actually wrote about his dad who grew up in the Holocaust. His dad was a watchmaker, which actually gave him a little bit of an advantage over other Jews in the concentration camps because being a watchmaker was valuable, and that helped him to negotiate some better conditions or get himself out of some situations or get in good with the guards. Anyways, his dad has since died, but he, wanted to capture all these stories. He does the voice. I read the audio version in his dad's accent. See, the only issue I had though, I give this one 5 stars. This one's really good. But when I listened to the preview, which was like the prologue, it was in a regular voice, and then you get into the book. And I'm okay with it. I got used to it, but very, very good book. His father ends up escaping one of the camps. And then his father, so this was written, I think, hold on, let me get the exact, release date 2022. That's the Audible release date. Okay, 2021 and 2022. His father ends up telling him at any time in any country, this can happen again. And look what's been happening in 2023 and 2024. There's been a lot of anti-Semitic rhetoric and talk and protests in the United States. I mean, the spokesperson, or no, it's the president of Harvard, didn't even denounce genocide. And there've been some other colleges too, but she ended up not losing her job over it. Anyways, very relevant to today. And I bet he didn't even realize when the book came out a year or two before that just in a year in the United States, there would be anti-Semitic stuff actually all over the world. So absolutely crazy. All right, so this goes along with the last book because this is about a man who ended up escaping all of the concentration camps, or the concentration camp he was in, and going to England and telling them what was going on because, the Nazi Germany government was trying to really hide what was really going on, and we didn't have the 24-hour news or the media, and people actually didn't know what was going on in the concentration camps or how bad it was for the Jewish people. So he was able to escape and then tell his story. Again, I'm only in the very beginning of it. I think I'm only like an hour or two in. But this goes along with the other books. So far, I really like it. The person that reads it, the audio version, almost sounds like Morgan Freeman, although not as deep of a voice, but along those lines of like a voice. I actually read the words of this one, didn't do the audio version, although This one that I'm showing you is the audio version. YouTube Secrets, maybe you'd like this, Casey, since you have a YouTube channel, but this is by Cannel and Benji. I love his YouTube channel, Think Media. So anything that they do, I really like. Now, because I was reading the actual words and not listening to the audio version, it took me forever to read this just because I don't have a lot of time to actually sit down and read. So trying to remember everything in the book, plus I watched so many of their YouTube videos. So like, I'm kind of getting mixed up. Did I read that in the book or was that on their YouTube channel? But I can think of one thing in particular that I did read in the book that wasn't on their YouTube channels. Anyways, highly recommend. I think I got it when it was on sale at Apple Books for like $5.99. So it's affordable, probably at your library too. Actually, Cindy and I were going to do a discussion about this one on her channel. This is called His Excellency, George Washington. Read the audio version. Anyways, Cindy's not really liking the book, so I don't know if she ever finished it. So we might not talk about it. But I don't give this one 5 stars. I give it like 3. It was okay. Yeah, I learned some new things on it. Some of the stuff I already knew because I've read other books about George Washington in that time period. So I don't know, a little bit read like a textbook. I don't know if you saw, but Cindy and I, we did a live stream where we talked about Titan. It was the life of John D. Rockefeller, written by Ron Chernow. Now that book really got to the heart of the person that John D. Rockefeller was. And when I read a biography, that's what I want. I want the essence of who the person was. And I just felt like this did not give us that. It did not give us the essence of the person. Now, Ron Chernow, who wrote that book about John D. Rockefeller and wrote the Hamilton book that the play was based off of, I want to read his version of George Washington because now I know, after reading 2 of his books, I know that's what he does, is really get to the heart of the person. So, this was okay. Okay, so this is called Good for a Girl, a woman's running in a man's world. So I don't keep up with professional running, but if you do, you might recognize her name. Lauren Fleshman. She went to the Olympics and, ran in a lot of competitions. So anyways, the entire book is about how women are treated differently in sports than men. For years, men didn't even do sports. She talked about how her mother was, alive when Title IX came, but her mom wasn't around to benefit from it. Her dad wanted boys, but never got boys, got girls, so kind of pushed them into sports, and she loved running. She talks about how they have different standards for women. Like, there's such a trend today, as much as we don't want to admit it, sometimes I don't want to admit it either, women and men made differently. So men have more testosterone. Also, women, we were made to have babies. So basically, our biology, she was talking about in this book, is that in the early 20s, that's women's peak prime season to have babies. That's when you're the most ripe to have babies. So as a freshman in college, she did great. And a lot of people find this. When they're freshmen in college, they do great. They do great with running. And then all of a sudden, your body in your early 20s wants to naturally go towards making babies. It wants you to gain a little weight. And so women start gaining weight. They start not being able to run, but you still get the pressure from everybody, from the Olympic Committee, from the coaches to lose weight. And then a lot of women do it in a really unhealthy way. And just all of the downsides that women go through and the pressure to be unnaturally skinny, or even just the things that women wear. Like, think about women's sports and men's sports. Women have to wear things that look super sexy. Are they doing that in a lot of men's sports? Men wear things that help them perform best or are comfortable, but for the women, it has to be like super sexy. And so she talks just a lot about that. And even, I don't want to spoil the book, so I'll be very general here, but she works with a major brand that puts a lot of the pressure on her or drops her like a fly as soon as, you know, she can no longer perform, or women having babies is looked at as a negative. So she ends up, again, not a spoiler, I'll just tell you a little bit, but she ends up working with a brand, not super well known, but like made for women, by women. She's like, hey, I'm pregnant. They're like, great. You're like, you're not dropping my contract? They're like, why would we? Let's just throw you a baby shower. So really good book. It's about her personal story, but yet at the same time, the broader story of women's sports versus men's sports. We've come a long way in shaping things, but still have a long way to go. So that one's really good as well. Oh, and you'll never guess where I got the title for that book, An Unlikely Place. I will talk about this in some of my upcoming health videos, but I joined Weight Watchers. So I'm on their app. They have like an app on the phone, and then they have like their own social media on the app, and they actually have a group for reading. And I asked people, hey, I like this type of book, any recommendations? And that one came within one of the recommendations. Tell me in the comments, what are you reading? Do you have any recommendations for me? I prefer nonfiction, open to a fiction book. Maybe I should start with historical fiction since I kind of like history books. But I do like some self-help books too, like Casey. I did another video about the 12-week year, and I know Casey, you read that one too. So anyways, thanks for all who watched later. Thanks for being here live, Casey. Bye everyone. Zaijian.